We're going to talk about the first secret to becoming a great shooter, and it really revolves around how you narrow your focus. And Rudy, I'll pass it over to you to get us started.
Love it, man. I'm really excited. To kind of dive into this topic as we talked about, what makes shooters great, what makes shooters special, how do people perform and, shoot well at whatever level they're at. And I think a lot of it just comes down to you can't be great at everything. And too many times when I watch players train, I'll just sit in and observe. The number one thing that I see, and one of the biggest issues, is that they go out there and they shoot a lot of different types of shots from a lot of different spots. And there's really not a rhyme or reason why. But then when I go watch them play, they're very specialized and they have certain roles within their team. Places on the floor they catch the ball, types of shots that they get, whether it be off of a ball screen or off of an isolation or off of a pin down, off of just a simple catch and shoot off a drive and kick. And I think, gosh, I feel bad for some players because they really are putting the time in, they're putting the work in, all the blood, sweat, and tears in the gym, and they're just not seeing the results simply because they're, essentially becoming a jack of all trades and a master of none. So the first thing I would just say is like, gosh, just aim small, miss small. If you focus on one thing and you really get deep into that one thing, that can really help you, produce more in games. And so when I think about, talking to athletes that I help train and things like that, just a couple of questions that I kind of, throw at them right away is just like, what's your role? What do you do in your teams? And then what are your biggest opportunities based on where you're at right now? You already know what you're good at, but where do you struggle against what type of teams and what type of defenses and what situations, do you maybe, hit a brick wall? And when you start finding these things out, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can just focus there. What do I get? Where do I get my shots off? Where do I get the catches? If you focus getting more catches, more shots from those spots, all of a sudden you'll actually produce more in games. And that's at the end of the day what we want, right? We don't care about how good we are on a Dr. Dish. We care about how good we are with the lights on a Friday night. And so that's kind of where I want to start. And Dustin, I'll pass it over to you on that one. I have a couple other thoughts, but I know you got some gold to share as well.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I think first and foremost, any realm of the game of basketball, to be the uncommon amongst the uncommon, I think simplicity is the ultimate sophistication in this game. And I think as a shooter, we've all been around great shooters. I think discipline equals freedom. And we'll unpack what that discipline needs to be around specifically. But first and foremost, it's having unbelievable alignment with your role in your team. It's the same thing with a coach of players. It's unbelievable alignment with the shots we want most. I've found that a lot of times a coach's offense will outperform the abilities of their players. And it's because they haven't aligned what shots they get the most in their offense and what patterns they see the most. Being really lucky and being around a lot of high-level players these last couple of months, the two biggest things that I've noticed with skill acquisition at that level is pattern recognition and spatial awareness. And the pattern recognition is knowing when to shoot and where to shoot. And I think for players on the call, what's unbelievably valuable is doing a SWOT analysis for yourself, which is SWOT. It's, as a shooter, what is your strength? What is your weakness? What is an opportunity for growth? And what is a threat to your game? SWOT. And just by answering those questions and possibly doing it with your staff, you get unbelievable alignment with not only where the shots you should be shooting are, but where you're best on the floor when you shoot those shots. And I think that's a really good place to start.
First one, let's talk about a more beginner player and someone who's been doing it for a long time. Beginner player. Where do they start on narrowing their focus? One of the secrets. They have no idea anything about shooting, okay, number one. And then if you would compare that to a college player, narrow your focus, where do they start?
Yeah, I'll start off, and then Dustin, if you want to add in. I think both of them, honestly, it's not even about age. I think this is where you start, and it's on catch and shoot. I think your catch and shoot, specifically being able to shoot from the 3-point line nowadays, catch and shoot is both your barrier to entry at higher levels, and it's the foundation for the future. So if you watch great shooters, in the NBA, you look at the Kyrie Irvings and Steph Currys, if you actually pause their shot on their catch and shoot from the moment they get the ball to their set point, we talk a lot about that, at our shooting college, your set point, your feet, your hands, and your eyes. If you look at their set point at the bottom of their set right before they go into their shot, if you freeze it on a catch and shoot and you freeze it on an off the dribble shot, they're identical. And so that's what we're talking about, like the foundation for the future. Whatever you do off the dribble, if you don't have the same foundation as you do off the catch, you're going to be missing the mark. You're going to be off balance. And so work and catch and shoot first to find your true core foundation, your footwork, your hands, your eyes, and build it from the ground up. Then you're going to be missing the mark and you're going to hit those brick walls. And honestly, a lot of players that play at really high levels, they still hit that brick wall eventually because they skipped steps when they were younger. Those players that were just so good, so athletic, so talented that they got away with skipping that catch and shoot, or they never got forced into that role because they were always a primary creator on their offense. And you see it all the time with high school going to college and college going to pros. They make that transition where all of a sudden they're not the primary creator on their team anymore. They have to play off the ball. They have to finish advantages instead of create them. And if you don't have a solid catch and shoot foundation, that's where you see a lot of players that are in that transition phase, they struggle because they don't have the catch and shoot foundation to get them access onto the court at that next level. Sure, they might be able to handle the ball, and sure, they might be decent defenders and they can finish at the rim. But if they're not the main person on the team that's going to be creating, well, then you can't play with those players. So they're going to be creating advantages, creating double teams, triple teams, kicking out to you. And if you can't knock it down, they're going to find somebody else who will. And so that's where the foundation, regardless of age and stage, I think starting and getting elite on catch and shoot threes, that is the foundation for all good shooters.
Elite on catch and shoot threes. Yeah, Dustin, what you got?
Like that was so beautifully said, and 1,000% to build on that. In any realm of the game of basketball, you're trying to put pressure on the rim. So if rim pressure is king, corner threes at volume is queen, regardless of the age and stage of the athlete. So if you are playing in college or you're a freshman going to the collegiate level, first and foremost, you got to be able to hit from the corners because corner threes gets you more minutes. And the way offenses are designed nowadays, whether it's I'm attacking off the bounce, I'm hitting somebody on the roll, I'm creating an offense to put pressure near the rim area. If pressure at the rim happens, the spray out to the corner is wide open. And so being able to hit those with fast feet, like Rudy is saying, is everything. So that's first. The second stage is after you can show that you can hit from the corner, scoring throughout the fluidity of your offense. So whatever your offense is, you're running pin downs, tight curls, flares, whatever the offense for you is, you need to show the ability to score within those confines because that's why you're running the offense. As coaches, we play players we trust and we give a lot of trust to shooters. And so after you've shown corner shooting and you can show offensive shooting, I call it, the next stage is called Ricky shooting. Which is a screen that high-level teams run for shooters. It's like when Clay comes off a screen and they immediately set him another screen. And so a Ricky shooter is someone who a set is ran just for that person. And then finally, the last type of shooter is a shot clock closer. So someone you give the ball to end shot clocks. And what I found is your shot selection is the mirror to your culture. And so you have some guys that think they're one role and they should be shooting other shots. But like Rudy is saying, and what he said so beautifully, everyone needs to be able to show the ability to hold space and catch and shoot from the corners first, and then you build from there.
Hey, and Rudy, you want to give one more point on this one?
Yeah, I think just to kind of sum up that initial point of the idea of being a master of one, right? That idea, that secret, if you will. We just essentially talked about a lot of things, but if you talk about this, if you're trying to get on the floor, I know a lot of players that come to these, they're trying to find their way on the floor. It's that barrier to entry. You're going to be moving on to a new role on a team this year. Maybe you were a 6th or 7th person coming off the bench last year. Maybe you graduated and you're going to your freshman year in college, whatever the case is, where you're moving up levels. Now the players, you're not the big fish in a small pond. You're trying to find your way in. The barrier to entry to be on the floor on any team is the 3-and-D player. You have to be able to guard your position and you have to be able to make threes, specifically corner threes. And so you have all these different shots from all the spots on the floor. If you go, from all the shots and you narrow it down, you could go 3-pointers. But then if you go and you want to narrow it even deeper, then you can go corner threes. And honestly, especially at the high school and even in the college levels, if you want to get even more narrow than that, left corner threes. Why? Most players and most offenses start on the right side of the floor. They're right-hand dominant, which means they drive with their right hand. Help's going to come from the left corner, and they're going to tag from the left corner. And so that's going to be the most frequent kick out three that you're probably going to get in the game of basketball. And so if you want to talk about just aiming small and missing small, where do you want to get a majority of your shots? Well, not just anything off the dribble. You want catch and shoot threes, not just catching threes, Go push to the corners and get really good in both corners. And then even more so than that, can you narrow it even more and get really, really good at those left corner threes above all else? Just to narrow it down, if you can do that, that's a starting point to start to build out your workouts. Make sure that you're having more shots from those two areas, the corners, and maybe even the left corner a little bit more than anything else that you shoot.
So let's close off the first secret, which is narrowing your training focus. And Rudy and Dustin, I'm going to put both of you on the spot here to give everybody watching one action. So if it's a coach watching right now, they could give this action to their player. But within 1 week, what should a player, in 1 to 2 sentences, I'm going to challenge you to be brief, in 1 to 2 sentences, what's one action they should take to narrow their training focus?
Yeah, you want me to go first? I hope that doesn't count as part of my sentence.
That's number one.
Just a really simplicity part of it. Ready? Don't miss short, don't miss dominant, don't miss in the same place twice. Short misses are the devil in the game of basketball because they lead transition going the other way. The best shooters in the world get the ball to the back rim.
Rudy?
Master the boring. Shoot more threes.
And I want to give one too as a third one. I want to build off what you said, Rudy. That's not part of my first or second sentence. Okay, but here it is. Master catch and shoot shots. Like as you get to higher and higher levels, there's better creators oftentimes. That's what happened for me. I was a high school player. I handled the ball a lot. I got to college. My coach said, "Kyle, stop creating. You're the best 3-point shooter, catch and shoot." And so the moment I put the ball on the ground, my percentages drop. So what does that look like in your training? Well, tomorrow, instead of doing 50 between the leg step back jumpers, how about you do 50 off the catch 15 feet from 5 spots, 50 off the catch threes from 5 spots, and you'll start to improve immediately. And that's one of the secrets. Back to what Dustin said, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.